Hi, I'm Sabra Sutton, Executive Director of the Alabama Association of Conservation Districts. I'm going to be reviewing the 2021 Alabama-Envirothon Complex Issue, which you will be tasked to complete. Let's get started. Your challenge is to develop and present a conservation plan for the Seven Springs watershed. More information about the watershed will follow. The Seven Springs River Planning Consortium needs to develop a conservation plan for the Seven Springs watershed. The conservation plan needs to focus on several things, including protecting, conserving, and enhancing the natural resources within the watershed. It's important that you also consider different social and economic perspectives. In completing this task, be sure to include measures for communicating the importance of these competing needs to stakeholders. Now let's review several things that you will need to know about the Seven Springs watershed as you complete this challenge. The consortium consists of representatives from 5 counties. All or part of these counties fall within the boundaries of the watershed. There are also 2 cities within the boundaries of the watershed. These are River City and Silver Springs. 3 aquifers underlie the watershed. All of these aquifers are used for water supply by those who live within these counties and cities. One of these aquifers is unconfined and it provides base flow for the Seven Springs River. The consortium is governed by 1 commissioner from each of the five counties and 1 council member from each of the cities. Please note that your audience for the presentation is the consortium, but you do need to keep in mind that the conservation plan will be available to all members of the public for review and comment. Each of the cities within the watershed have completed major projects within the past several years. River City completed a river walk within the past 5 years. This river walk led to an increase in both tourism and development. Silver Springs completed a project to protect the headwater source of Silver Springs. Part of this project aimed to control development to minimize negative impacts to Silver Spring itself. It's important to note that the spring has both historical and spiritual significance for local residents. As far as land use, the watershed is 40% dryland agriculture, 40% forested, and 20% urban-suburban. Development is rapidly changing prime farmland within the watershed to urban areas. This is considered a threat to both the river and groundwater. It is estimated that 5,000 new single-family homes will be required in the area within the next 5 years. An increasing number of agriculture producers are selling their prime farmland to be converted to urban areas. This is due to risk associated with drought-related crop yield losses, and this is because of a lack of irrigation. Despite the loss of this prime farmland, the entire area has recently been named #1 in the Beautiful Farmland in America list. This is compiled by the popular website wheretolive.com. It also was ranked #5 in the best places to commune with nature. This is the popular Instagram account @bestofnature. Both awards are considered to be a driving force behind the recent spurt in development and tourism. It's important to note that the watershed also is home for a diverse array of both aquatic and terrestrial species. One of these is the endangered gray bat. The gray bat lives and roosts in caves along the banks of the Seven Springs River. Recently, local governments within the watershed have been working with the River City Silver Springs Water District to project water resource needs for the next 20 years. As part of this planning process, a number of concerns related to both water quality and water quantity have been identified. The first of these concerns is potential stress and overuse of all 3 aquifers. A second concern is that water quality results downstream of both urbanizing areas and agricultural operations show nutrients, turbidity, and pathogen levels that do not comply with water quality standards. A third concern is increases in water temperature below some of the urbanizing areas. A fourth concern is increased algae growth has been reported in some of the wading pools and swimming areas, including Silver Falls Pool, which is a well-known historical spiritual ritual site. Using the information presented and in the document provided, use the 9 steps of the conservation planning process to create a 5-year plan for the consortium. The plan needs to address the competing needs of the community and the stresses that are placed on its natural resources. Be sure to focus your planning on local control and local solutions, but consider that state, regional, and federal interests do exist. Consider how water resources affect all aspects of the community and determine compromises that prioritize the issues that the community is facing. Furthermore, determine methods to reach the community for input from stakeholders. Please use the steps for conservation planning that are listed on the complex issue document and also covered in a separate presentation. Additional information, which may have not been covered in other training manuals that needs to be considered in this planning process, is that the word stakeholder is used throughout the complex issue challenge. For the purposes of this exercise, a stakeholder is defined as any person, group, organization, or even agency that has an interest or perceives an interest in a program or project. In this case, do they have an interest in the conservation plan? Some examples of stakeholders to consider are local elected officials, owners of businesses along the Riverwalk, residents who consume water from the aquifers as their drinking water, farmers who use the water for crops. Also, think about those who use the river for recreation. What others may need to provide input during the planning process? Identify their potential issues of concern, and then as part of the plan, try to balance these sometimes competing interests and concerns. Thank you for your participation in the 2021 Alabama Envirothon. Good luck, and we are looking forward to your presentations.